I'm Shivani Gupta. I'm obsessed with small to medium businesses growing. As business owners, we take so much risk and we want to make sure it's worth it. I believe one of the best presents you can give yourself as a business owner is to be able to learn how to scale your people, your profit, and your processes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Grow Your Business podcast. I'm Shivani Gupta, and I am your host. One of the things that I believe that will absolutely change the culture of your business is the way that we do and conduct effective performance reviews. And so a lot of people do performance reviews. Most organizations, small, medium, often do that once a year. But for it to be effective, you want to be doing lots of informal feedback performance reviews in the middle. The best companies I see that doing it weekly or even daily, and others that do it every quarter or every 6 months. Whichever way you do it, the key word here is effective. So let's talk about how important is it to be able to do performance reviews. And it's also really important to look at the other side of the coin, is how much is it costing your business in being able to do that. So there is some research by Gartner that talks about the fact that performance reviews can take up to between 120 and 200 hours a year for one of your employees. And if you look at that, you go, okay, well, that is, if we're doing 40-hour weeks, that's somewhere between 3 and 5 weeks. Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like a lot, but imagine the manager and the leaders in your business, or if you are the business leader or owner that runs these performance reviews in your business, that, what impact it has on the people and their productivity and what they can actually do with that. The other research that comes out, again, that is not that nice, is that it talks about the fact that over 95% of people that go through performance reviews absolutely dislike to hate it. So there's only 5% of people that kind of look forward to it. And so we've got to ask the question as business leaders and owners, why is that? And is that because we're, again, not doing them perhaps as effectively? So the idea of a performance review is to motivate people, but it sounds like from all the research that we often are doing that to demotivate people. And one of the things we want to be able to do is we want to be able to repeat the good and the positive feedback, and we don't want it to be a tick in the box exercise, which it is for a lot of people. Oh yeah, your performance review's due. Yeah, I already know what you're doing. Let's just quickly meet and let's do a tick off process. That is not an effective performance review. So really, it's important that employees know and your people know what's happening. They get regular feedback, and I've talked about this on other podcasts as well. And it's really important that there's no major surprises that get revealed at your annual review. And often that leads to engagement, and that's when we lose really, really great people. So do we need to measure it? Absolutely. In business, what we don't measure, we never know whether we're going good or not so good or terrible against that. So it's important to keep it simple and to be able to do that. There are many, many tools in being able to do that. One of them, the main thing is that you want to link into your performance reviews what's known as an acronym called BARS, which is Behaviorally Anchored Rating Scale. So you want to really rate. You don't have to call it bars. You don't have to do that. But when you are, whatever format, structure, history that you have of performance reviews, you want to make sure that their behaviours are lining up with what we are doing in the work environment and what we're expecting them to do. And we want to also set it up in a way that people know that this is not something that they're going to fail at or not achieve at. We want to set up a culture where people get excited in terms of being able to do these performance reviews. I also believe that performance reviews should be set in advance. So ideally, in an ideal world for business leaders and owners, when I'm speaking to them, I say, look, if you can do one every quarter, it will actually take this thing away from being this massive thing in a year's time, because we're trying to also review all the things that happen. And often quarter 1, quarter 2, we can't remember them. We'll remember more of the recent quarter 3, quarter 4 issues. So just making sure that it's already in the diary for the next quarter, next 6 months, next year, and it's already put in there. And it's really, really great. What I wanted to share with you is to share 5 really basic tips that will help you get it to more of an effective performance review. The first one is getting very clear on the goals. The more specific and detailed you are as a business leader and owner with your person that you are doing the performance review for, the easier it is for them to know what it is. Go into a little bit of detail. It's not to make it lengthy. When I go into detail, it's literally dot points that might say, get this project to this amount of revenue, or get this many new clients and this, but they're dot points, but there's enough detail in there so people know what the goals are and what they're being measured against. Always use an ask, not a tell strategy. Ask them questions about how they can achieve that. Do they believe that's in their position description? Get to make sure that they are actually going to be willing to be able to achieve that particular part. Otherwise, they're going to go, yeah. They're not really believing in it, and it's unlikely that it will be met. The third tip that I have is catch-ups, making sure that you've got regular, both informal is key. I know that you might need to record this from your business, whether it's small or medium, to be able to record that for catch-ups, but just ensuring that it is the informal stuff that you're getting regular feedback on. And you don't want to reschedule performance reviews, because it kind of tells people, I was coaching somebody and they said, Shivani, my CEO has moved the performance review 3 times already, obviously doesn't value it. So we don't want to give our people that impression that we don't want to value it unless there's got a very, very strong reason for doing that. The other thing is we also want the performance reviews to, identify some gaps that might exist in skills. So talking to them about perhaps what skills they need to develop. It could be around people skills. It could be around certain technical skills, whatever they are, and then we can create a learning or training plan out of that as well. And the last part is to focus. What we want to do is we want to give managers some training in the way that they do things, and that they become more aware of what their deficiencies are and what they need to be able to do that. So as business owners and leaders, it's so important when you're getting people to focus, making sure that we're focusing on what they're doing well and not just dwelling on the failure in terms of what we're doing. So key to be able to make that work. Thank you for tuning in. I would always appreciate any questions that might exist for me. My business is called Ask Shivani, and if you could take a moment to review and rate this podcast, it would be so appreciated. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. I'm Shivani Gupta, and you've been listening to the Grow Your Business podcast. I hope you got one idea that you can think about or perhaps even implement straight away in your business. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Ask Shivani. Remember, I call it Ask Shivani, so please send me your questions that I can address in this podcast for you. And I would also so appreciate if you went to the Apple Podcast to rate and review this podcast.